let's just say, do you think the government has the best interest of it, the people?
Hey, what up, say? Yeah.
I would say I think man is inherently sinful. And I would say people maybe this is probably a slim chance get into politics to help people. But I would say everyone wants power. We know power corrupts. And I think once you get in the office, the goal is just to stay in office. And I think once you get there, it's not about the people. It's about how can I get more power? How can I get more successful? How can I get the people to reelect me? Not how much can I do? How much can I help people? How much can I do this, that, and the other? It's ultimately, it's a popularity contest, right? And so how do I stay popular? What do I have to lie? What do I have to say to stay in power? And that's always been man's biggest downfall. And the sin in man is that I need to stay in power. So I don't think it's about helping people. I don't think it's about putting people in their best interest, either side, right or left. None of them really care about the common man and the common folk because, who cares about them? I need to stuff my pockets. I need to stay in power because if I lose power, I lose money and all those other things. So that's always been my opinion is that, like, do you honestly think there's one politician out there that really cares about you and really is thinking of your best interest? Then you've fallen into the trap. What about you, Roy?
I mean, I agree. Like this, as bad as this government is and it's horrible, it's still probably the best government we've ever had in the history of the world. I'm looking at other places, but it is still bad. Like it started off, it's nowhere near what it looks like when it first started off with the founding fathers and the Constitution and all that stuff. They've added on so much to the government. Like when the government first started, the main job was protect your citizen, and that was basically it.
Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right?
Yeah, protect the wars, leave your citizens alone. That was it.
Protect our borders, protect our citizens, whatever you guys do in between that, do whatever you want. And I think it's come down to, it's just like a bad job. When a job goes corporate, they start micromanaging every little detail. And then you're like, wait a minute.
Build a shed in your backyard without the government getting involved. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, right. You need permitting and all this stuff and HOA and all these stupid little things. I'm like, our founding fathers would be rolling in their graves.
Do you think, okay, so like, I don't know. I feel like you have influence, right, Stephen? Like from what you've been able to accomplish and stuff. Do you think that some of that power gets to do you think that power can get to your head? Have you ever, I mean, I know I can say that I think that it's never has gotten to your head, but like, do you feel like, I guess the high that you think that these people are getting, that you can kind of understand why they would want the power? I'm not justifying it, right? I think it's stupid. I think
I'd say in a degree, yes. Like you can, besides Romans 12 say, this is what I got to check myself with, that, you can obviously, whenever you accomplish something big or you start doing big things, you can be like, oh man, I'm so skilled. I'm so great. And you can lose sight of like the gifts God gave you. All the time I'm like, I got to check myself of like, oh yeah, look what I did. Like, wait a minute. No, look at what God's allowed me to do. Because it says, in Romans 12, you ought not think more highly of yourself than you should. Right. And then I got to also remind myself that God uses the foolish to confound the wise. And the more you do, probably the bigger fool you are because God gets more credit. So it's like if I'm doing anything big, it's not because I'm special, because it's going to show that God can use anybody to do something big. So I always got to check myself. If I am doing something big, that just means I probably have less skill than I think I do, and I should be thankful for it. But yeah, absolutely. You do something big, we built a brand new orphanage, or you help people in the community, or you start speaking at church, you're getting some influence, or people want to hear what you have to say. Like, obviously it's human nature to live in the flesh, and your flesh wants more of that power and recognition, right? That's why social media influencers, they just want more. They just want more. They start doing fake posts, and all these, these influencers start doing fake skits, and like they want so badly was to get more and more popular, where they're afraid to lose their momentum. And I feel that's in a way politics too, right? And so,
I mean, if you look at everybody who goes into office is all narcissists and people who just want to glorify themselves. Like I was talking, I forget who told me, nobody in politics is going in it just because they want the greater good or like they want to serve other people. They're just going in for their own fame, for their own narcissism. A lot of those people are like, they're the most selfish people. They go in there for like the popularity, the money, and all that stuff. And once they get a taste of it, it's never gonna stop. You're always gonna be keep going and going and going. That's why like the best leaders never go into politics. Like the people that should be going into politics should be going for elections, presidents, whatever. They don't ever want to do that because they don't want to go through all that. They know what's behind it. They know like it can go very badly, very, very quickly. And they don't want.
Doesn't that show you that the system is fried in a way though? Like that shows you that it's just like Will was saying earlier, like it's put in place to maintain order and to an extent, but there's people that actually doing the right thing, but they might not be put in that power. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think like it's just like a made up thing in a way.
I think so too. The people probably come into office, I think of Tulsi Gabbard. I think of like she came in, said all the right things. She wants to do all those things. And people are like, yeah, that's not how it works around here. Slow your roll, get in line. This is what we're doing. And it's like politicians are I think some of them want to get in to save the world. And then they realize quickly, like, this is a game you got to play and it's not what you think it is. And you want to stay in power, you got to, say the right things. And then just like you said, sin corrupts. Like, when have you seen even Trump, right? Look what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did in my first 100 days. No president's done what I've done in this amount of time. Me, I, right? That's what every president does because they just want to show how much they've accomplished, not like what we could do as a country. Look at the amazing things that we're trending towards. It's I.
But why is it set up that way though? In a way it's set up to just screw us over.
I don't think it was initially. That's the problem. Like our founding fathers had this, I don't want to say utopian society, but this close to near patriotic, free, democratic society they set up. And then obviously as the government grew, it got bigger and bigger.
So we're not going to go backwards though.
I mean, if you like, the government started off small, and then if somebody got into the office and they're like, well, I want to do this, they just expanded what the government does. So each person that went into, each generation of politicians that went into the government, they just expanded the power of the government and they molded it to fit what they want instead of what the people should be getting. Yeah. So like with each generation that the government gets bigger, with each generation, the government gets more corrupt. But the one thing I will give Trump is when he went into office on his first term, like we said, like politicians are all kind of the same. What Trump did, he disrupted the flow of things because he wasn't a politician. He was just a celebrity and he kind of did it out of spite. And nobody knew what he wanted to do and nobody knew like how he was going to go about it. Everybody was just sitting on the edge of their seats. But now like on his second term, he's kind of just folding into the mold. He's becoming just another politician basically, which disappointed a lot of people too.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest now, right? What do you think, Will? Now, nice to have you.
I don't even know if I can tell you what I think because I keep going in and out. I do not know.
10 seconds.
Like I was saying, I believe that no, the government doesn't have our best interest at heart. When it started off, when it broke from and went to war with Great Britain, they had the best of intentions. I do believe that. And then when they were put in the place of Great Britain, they're like, dang, this stuff is expensive. We do need to start taxing people. We do have to start doing this. We do have to do all the things that sent them to war in the first place, right? So once they started to change that mindset, I don't think that they cared about the little man. The bigger we got, I think Steven said that as well. I mean, the bigger you got, of course, your perspective has to change. So on one level, I understand why they can't really care too much about the little man because you have 300-400 million people. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right. For those of you who want to cancel me, I'm not saying it's right. But I'm just saying I understand it on some level. That's all I'm saying. I do understand it on some level. And what's the other side of the coin? Show me that coin.
The other side of the coin too, like so the people, like you're saying, like back then they went to war because of like the taxation and everything, but that was because the people spoke out and they actually did something about it. if you look at today, the people are just going along, you know, whatever the government does, they moan about it for 2 days and then they just roll over. Like the amount of taxes, like if you look back during a couple of years ago, the government basically controlled your entire life, what you could do, what you can do, where you can go, where you can't go, what you can put in your body. And people got mad, but what did they really do about it? Nobody did anything about it. You get like one person here, one person there, but that's not enough. People,
Isn't the control showed to war though too? You're talking about wars, and every time we've had wars is when the government's taken over and the economies thrive the most. But in a way, we've kind of created the wars that we started, and therefore the people had to follow suit in what was going on in the country. And
I think that's the government's plan is like the bigger, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? The bigger the government is, the more subsidies, the more government programs. Like the government, you could push back 100, 200 years ago if they did something you didn't like. Now they've gotten so big, like Roy said, all we can do about it is write an angry Instagram post about it and complain about it, but nothing's going to change because we've allowed them to get too powerful instead of like pushing back. And now, the Patriot Act and all these other things have just made it so, if you disagree or do anything, they can basically take you out. And so people are afraid, and that's, I think, the biggest problem. But when it comes to the power corrupting, look at it this way. We can all relate to this. You know what I mean? We can talk crap on politicians all the time, but like bench press. First time you did 135, you're like, yeah, okay, now I got to hit 185. Then you hit 185, you're like, yeah, now I got to hit 200 pounds. Then you're like, okay, if I get a 225 bench, you know what I mean? I'm strong, right? And then it just keeps going up, right? 315. You're never going to be like, okay, I'm strong enough. And until I tore my pec doing 600 pounds, it's like you're always going to want more because that's the human and sin nature in us. So we can sit here and be like, oh, well, if I did this, I would be fine. But literally, like, look at us in the gym. Isaiah, are you big enough? Will, are you big and shredded enough?
No.
Roy, are you, right? I got on the lean body yesterday. I'm pushing below 5%.
I'm 16.
I got to get leaner. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So it's like, no matter what we do, we're always going to want more. And it's like, it doesn't even matter. So, I mean, I get it from it's so corrupt, people wanting more, but even if it comes to our income, it comes to our bench press, it comes to our physique, we're always going to want more. And that's what I like that you said, Isaiah, like, are we able to check ourselves to be able to realize, like, why do we want more? What's enough? And, can we actually be satisfied with our work? And I think that if we're in the flesh, it's never going to be enough, which obviously we know our politicians may claim to be Christian, but their actions, the wars, the money, the laws they pass show they're very much not Christian, so they're going to always want more. And so that's always a scary thing to think about, but it's just the human sin nature. And now with that, let's piggyback into the next topic. Is it the government's job to help people? I don't think, or is it the government's job to allow you to roam freely so you can help yourself? Let me hear what you guys have to say. Is it the government's job?
To a certain extent, yes. Because the reality is, with 300, 400 million people in this country, everyone's not going to be a millionaire. Everyone's not going to be able to make $100,000. We need some janitors, right? There has to be janitors. There has to be the people who do the lower level works. There has to be those people. So if inflation continues to go up and yet we still need people to work these jobs, and these jobs are only paying 15, 16, 17, maybe if you're lucky, $20 an hour, then how do we help them move up in society, right? So I do believe the government has to help people, but I do think that there should be a time limit on that help. That's the thing, right? I know people who have Section 8, but they've been on Section 8 for 15, 20 years. And then the mindset is to pass that Section 8 down to the next generation, or I can't get a job because I'll make so much money and then they'll kick me off Section 8. And that's unfortunate. And there are people who actually want to do good, but the fear of doing better puts them back in an impoverished state because they make too much money to even make bare minimum. So I do believe the government should play a part. What do you guys think?
Roy, what are you gonna say?
For me, I don't really think they should be getting involved with people like that. Like I said, I think the government's main responsibility should be protecting its citizens. But other than that, because if you're helping people, if you're giving them like that welfare and all that stuff, like, okay, that's good. That's good for you, good for the people. But the other people are paying for it, so the taxes are going up. So if you pull out of helping people, giving away all those funds and everything, you're not going to be taking taxes. Why would you need the taxes? So I think the government should be like, protect citizens, build schools and like hospitals and stuff like that. But outside of that, I don't think they should be getting involved in people's personal lives. I think they should back off and let the person succeed or fail on their own. Like if you go with that, if somebody fails and they go broke or whatever, then that's on them. They didn't put in the effort. They didn't put in the hard work. They weren't doing the right thing. Why should somebody else be paying for them to basically have the same life that the other person has, So I think like competition is good between the people. That's how you get like new inventions and stuff like that. That's how you grow as a society. But if you're living off of the government teat, you're not going to be able to grow because you're just living comfortably. You're not going to want to be motivated. You're not going to want to go and invent new things. You always have people that do want that. But let's face it, a lot of people, they get lazy. They just, I'm getting this for free. Why would I want to go work? Why would I want to do this, do that?
Even in Chula Vista, all the homeless people around there had PO boxes. They were receiving government subsidies and unemployment, and they were just using it on drugs and staying homeless, right?
Yeah. So like what would Razor kind of
Imbalances. There should be checks and balances on that. But when Roy's saying that, there should be competition and competition breeds character, and yeah, I agree. But we can't close our eyes to the reality. Everything you're saying sounds good, but the reality of life with over 400 million people in this nation, right? Everybody doesn't have a clear-cut path to that level of success. Now, I'm not saying they can't be successful. I mean, if I believe I'm a testament to that, but everybody doesn't have a clear-cut path. So although I don't think that the government should hold your hand for the rest of your life, no. But I do think that there are cracks, right? And some people fall between those cracks. So, because we're not talking about why should people help them. The government isn't people. The government would be considered the system, right? There's people who run that system, but the government.
Well, I'm going to push
system.
I think it's there.
I'm going to push back on that. You said we have to help them, and I'm going to give you a biblical perspective. Even if we're supposedly a Christian nation, Jesus didn't say it's the government's job to love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said it's your job to love your neighbor as yourself. So when I look at anything, me and you, we saw Post-Beat Chronicles. We saw a void and an opportunity in the formerly incarcerated. We didn't say, why isn't the government doing something about it? We did. We shut up and we did something about it. It's not the government's job. When I see something in Africa, I'm like, why isn't Uganda helping, Mama Flo? No, I shut up, I raised the money, and I did something about it. If you are a Christian nation, if you are someone that claims to be Christian, instead of complaining, why isn't the government doing something about it? Why aren't you doing something about it? You see a homeless guy, it even says in the Bible, you see a homeless person that needs money and you say, hey, I'll pray for you, go in peace. No, don't do that. Go and actually help them. So if you're going to sit there and complain, oh, the government needs to help people. No, you do it yourself, right? There's a famous Christian song that says, why doesn't someone do something? God says, that's why I sent you, right? So we can't sit here and be like, the government needs to do this, the government needs to do this, the government needs to do this. If you see a problem in society, why aren't you doing your best to help with that problem? And I'll go back to whether it's the Philippines or stuff I've seen in Africa or stuff we've done down in Mexico or stuff I'm going to do to feed the community of Fresno this fall. I'm not like, why isn't the city feeding the people? Why isn't the government doing something? It is my job as a Christian, as Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, to actually go out and love in action my neighbor. Now, what we do is we get lazy and we say the government's job is to love our neighbor. And I think that's where the flaw is. It's not ever going to be, the government can never replace what a man's job is, right? That's like saying, oh, the government should raise your children. The government should raise your child. No, as a parent, it's your job to raise your child. If you're going to let the government raise your child is in for a world of trouble. If you're going to let the government take care of the whole, you know what I mean? Roy and Isaiah are veterans. They got government health care. They got the VA. It's slow. It's terrible. It barely helps them. And it's very inefficient. So if you're asking the government to help people, it's going to be slow, terrible, wasting money, and inefficient. If a human, a person, a citizen of the United States sees a need and they start doing something, then we have a much better country. We have this thing of like, we pass it off on the next president, or we pass it off on the government. If everyone just shut up and do it, we'd be in a much better society. We'd be a much better society, and more people would be helped. And that's always going to be my thing, is like, it's your job to love your neighbor. Stop passing the buck off to anyone else. What do you have to say about that?
Quiet over there. What you think?
I think I think there's a basic blueprint that. Whoa.
Today.
I know. What real is computers giving him a hard time. I think there's a basic blueprint, and I think that at the end of the day, I think everyone knows what they need to do, whether that be government, whether that be the person. I think people know exactly what they need to do to be successful or to get where they need to go. So I think like saying like people who are working minimum wage and stuff like that, I think those people, yes, everyone is dealt a different card in a different deck, and you roll with how that deck is dealt to you. But to sit here and make excuses of that, you know, you're going to go through trials just like that are different than me. I'm going to go through trials that are different than you, but that doesn't make me any less qualified. And I know the work that I need to put in, and it might be a little more extra work than what you have to put in. So I guess my perspective more is just like, you know what you need to do. Are you willing to do that work in order to get where you need to go? And I think that a lot of people aren't willing to put in and really suffer or go through the things that they need to get where they need to go.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their opportunity in this country. Like, if you look at Will, he spent how many years in prison, came out, and now he's successful because he put in hard work. My parents came from the Middle East with nothing, and they put in hard work, and now they're successful, and they're about to retire, you know. It's about hard work. And the longer you have the government to fall back on as like a safety net, you're not going to want to put in that hard work. You're always going to be like, oh, you know, it's safe. Why would I want to do all that? And then like, well, it's life. Yeah. And the other thing is, like you said, life is not fair. You get dealt whatever hand you get dealt with, and you have to live with it. Like, okay, yeah, I like that. That's true. Not everybody is going to be a successful millionaire. Some people are going to be just average, you know, and not everybody's goal is to be a millionaire. So it's just like everybody, you get these handful of people that make the loudest noise about why their lives are not fair, why they're broke and all that. But it's like, deal with it, you know. Like, why is it the government's responsibility to get you some money?
Don't you think it would be like the government's there for like, it's like a parent when you get older, like when you get older and you're in age, and your parents there for like a guidance rather than like to hold your hand through every step. Like they've done the job before, and also saying like, you know what you need to do in that way. So you always have that conscience of like what's right and wrong. Don't touch the pot. It's hot. You're going to burn your hand. And it's like, after you turn 18, your parents are there to ask them, if you have good parents, which I hope everyone, you know, that's the goal. And you can ask them and you can lean on them, but you don't depend on them, because it shouldn't be an option anymore. You know,
Yeah.
like you go to them and turn to them if you need it, if you need help, if you need some, like I said, guidance. If not, then, you know, you can handle it on your own.
Yeah. Like if you have
Those problems and issues. But
Well, I also like what Will said. I mean, we do need the cogs in the wheel to run society, right? You do need, well, McDonald's is replacing everyone with kiosks, but I mean, you need the teachers, you need the janitors, you need the prison guards, you need the police officers, you need all those positions. You know, we can't all be
do you
entrepreneurs.
think it's a cog in the thing? Do you think that's a cog in the system though, to be that? Or what if someone just enjoys being a damn janitor?
No, I agree. I mean, like a well-orderly society, though, needs those people in those smaller jobs that are what keeps society running. And so they're obviously
the government have to do with
the wealthy. What's that?
what does the government have to do with those jobs?
No, he's saying that they're not. Well, I think Will's argument is they're not going to be able to make enough. But obviously, you know, my thing too with social media, with YouTube, with the internet, all the information is out there about how to be successful, how to make money, how to invest, how to do those things. You know, one thing I liked about San Diego or this generation is everyone has a job and a side hustle, right? Because everyone's trying to make more money. And so I was educating someone on how to do it, open an LLC and how to, circumvent a certain amount of taxes with their own LLC, even though they're on a W-2 the other day. It's just, there's ways out there to do things. You just got to ask the wealthy people around you on how, and be a sponge, get a mentor, learn on the internet. And you don't have to, pay for some $10,000 mentorship course. There are tons of ways to, increase your financial net worth. And I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, everyone should be a millionaire. Everyone should make six figures. But I think with 2 working people in the household, you can definitely sustain a lifestyle without having to rely on the government. Now, with this cost of living this last couple of years going up, it hasn't gotten easier by any means, but I still don't think that it's the government's job to do all those things, right?
So here's another question. You just hit on it. Should there be 2 incomes in the household, or should it be the man providing and the wife staying at home?
Oh boy. Hold on. I want Will to rebuttal to what I said though earlier. Will, go ahead. Is your microphone on?
My microphone is on. I'm good.
All right. Say what you were gonna say before we move on to the next topic.
About the social systems, and yeah, I think the government should be there for people. I know that I know we talk about, people should figure it out by themselves, but that's not a real reality, right? People coming over from different countries, they need assistance in order to start building themselves up. They utilize the social systems in order to build their empires. So it's not just the people that are in the United States that use these empires, but what they do is they use empires, they grow, and then they no longer utilize those social systems. So that's what I'm saying for people who do need the social systems to use it and then lose it, not use it until you die. I do think there should be a time limit on people who do need the system, because there are people who need the system. That's what the government is for. It's like I said, the government, what Steven said is, we go to Africa, we help people out. The government shouldn't help people out. We should do it. But if we're a part of the government, then isn't it our responsibility to utilize the government to help the people out, like the people in different countries, like the homeless, like the kids, like all these people? So they're doing the same thing that we're doing. They're the ones in that condition.
I want to rebuttal you just real quick. I think that government should have a good interest. They should have the best interest for the people. Do they? No. But also, I find it interesting that a lot of people who do come over from particularly overseas or come from different country, they know and they learn how to utilize the systems that we have in America better than Americans. So you can't blame America for the citizens that failed to use what's given to them, when another country, to be honest with you, there's a lot of Chinese shops in San Diego, and people come in here and are foreign, and they start a business and they're successful. And then you're like, well, why are these people coming? They came in with the lack of knowledge that we had and less opportunity, and still made shit happen.
But they also come in with a harder work ethic too, though. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On that footage, they're willing to hustle, where Americans on programs, like Will said, they're afraid to make too much money. And these people from third world countries or other countries, even like my wife, this is a land of opportunity. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity. I'm going to outwork everyone because these Americans are lazy. And that's why, like Roy's parents, they're succeeding and they're retiring. They probably came over here, couldn't speak a lick of English, but because of their work ethic and refusal to just want to be on the government, I'm in this better country that, capitalism is here and thriving. I'm going to dominate. I always think the same thing. Like, man, I can't do this in another country, but I can do it in the U.S. because of capitalism. That's always been my thought.
Well,
That's why Will's statement, or not Will, that's why Roy's statement makes sense, is because you have too much dependence on the government. That makes a lazy society rather than the hardworking society like we're talking about, coming and being hungry. You already know that you can depend on the government that's helping you. So why would you work hard? So that's why it's like,
I'm going to challenge that, because that operates on the assumption that those that come over here don't use the social systems that are in place. And they do. I'm not saying Roy's parents, but a lot of them, because I know them and and I bet you if you ask them, have their parents used the food stamp system, have their parents used Section 8, have their parents used low income, Yes, because they see it like, oh, I can use this and now I can save my money and now I can buy this business and now I can elevate myself. So there's a system in place that'll allow me to elevate because that's what the social system was supposed to do. And instead, Americans have utilized it to stay in that impoverished state. And that's where I see the problem. Again, there are people who do need a hand
During hard, you know, about 100% using your limit, right? I mean,
Yes, I think there should be a limit. If it was my perfect world and someone was on Section 8, I would say, hey, okay, well, you got Section 8 for the next 4 years. During that time, you can either go get a certification for a job that will send you into a career field, or you can go to school. And both of those things will be free. So within 4 years, you should have a degree that will get you an actual job, or you will have a certification that will get you an actual career. And now you're no longer on government assistance. So within that 4 years, you had everything handed to you. And if you look at it, people who are on Section 8 for 10 years, 15 years, that will be a far less.
But they can already go to school for free.
Exactly.
If they,
But what about the people that got dealt a different hand though? So say say we all put our kids through school, but another kid has a crappy upbringing, and I hate that that's the way it is. But what makes him have free school and this other person not have free school when this people's parents have been working their butt off to get them to pay for school? Why do you not have to pay for school?
Why does the person
my
that's
thing.
paying for school, why does that person even care that this person isn't paying for school? Why is that? Why is that?
Because because in our society, this person
sacrifice more.
they have to pay for school and they have to pay for it, while this other people have tax dollars that are paying for their school, which I want them to go to school. I'm not immorally saying like, oh, I'm just a dickhead, I don't want them to go to school. But my thing is that this person and this family works hard to push their kids to school. They have to pay for it out of pocket, $40,000. This person just struggled and had a rough life, so now they get free college because they need government assistance. Well, what about these people who are paying for it outright?
Why are we?
Just because they have a
They have it though. So I'm gonna go to the Bible because we're all, biblical men, right? We're all, godly men. And the story of the person who had the field and went out and to find people to work. And he said, the people who started early in the morning, you work in the field, you get off at 8, and I'm gonna give you this much money. And then he went later on in the day and saw people who are still sitting around and say, hey, why aren't you at work? I'll give you this much money if you get off at 8. Then there were people who got at 6 o'clock and said, if you get off at 8, I'll give you the same money. And the people that started early in the day was like, hold up. Why are you giving them the same amount of money as us when we've been working all day? And he said, hold up, we made a deal. Why are you worried about what I'm doing with my money? We made a deal. You worked, you got your money. If I make them, that
has nothing to do with
nothing
school.
with you. And that plays a perfect
That
part.
story has nothing to do with like.
Hold on.
If you didn't make that deal though, no one wants to say like I'm not agreeing that they get to go to school and I'm paying $40,000. That's not the deal I'm making.
No, the deal that you made was that you will go to school and that you will pay $40,000. That is the deal that you made. A part of that deal in your contract wasn't, oh, the person next to me, they may have assistance. Well, I'm not signing up for that deal. Okay, well, the person over here, they're going to get free school. They're going to get financial aid and they'll pay a little less. That's not a part of your deal. Your deal.
Okay, that story is about government paid.
That was
Let me push back on that.
push back. Come on, push. I'm ready.
So that story is not about working or education or any of that. It's about salvation. It's not about work.
Whether it's about, it's an analogy. It's an example, and you can apply it.
The parable.
A parable.
It's a parable about getting into God's kingdom and whether what you did or
I know it's not about working. I understand that it's not about working, but he used working. So I'm using that same parable that plays a perfect part in our conversation, that you made a deal for what you're going to get. Why are you worried?
So, but they didn't make a deal. That's why they're upset. Isaiah is saying they're upset because they didn't make that deal. And if we're in a democracy, we should vote whether or not immigrants and the poor get free college, and whether we should have to make enough should have to go.
I think about it too. Like, so
Democracy, like the government shouldn't decide that.
what if that family that used Section 8, right? They get out of Section 8, they get out of like that the assistance, and they start making it in life.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of your mindset, everybody's mindset, not yours. I'm saying everybody's mindset is based on if it's not on your front doorstep, you're not going to pay attention to it. You have to, until it comes to your front doorstep or the situation that you're at, you're going to have a different perspective. If you're poor, then you get $1 million. Your mindset's going to be a lot different with how your money goes.
You report.
So that person that's getting the system and assistance, now they make money. Could you imagine now they say, I have to pay for my kid to go to school. And now they have to look at someone else who's getting free school and be like, why the hell? I just worked my ass off to get off of this. This person's getting free school. I want everybody to be able to do that, but we're not in a perfect world.
Here's the argument. You give them some, we all know too, the Santa Claus effect, but you give someone something free, it's not going to be used gratefully or under. So if you give someone free college, who's to say they're even going to graduate or go? Because it's free. Well, it didn't cost you anything, right? There's no cost. There's no sacrifice. So there's no sacrifice. There's no motivation. Does that make sense?
What's not with everybody too? To be honest, I think some people
Also not, right? So the exact some people will, right? There's
But you know what is fact though?
huh? What's up?
What's fact is it's not free. Somebody else is paying for it. Like if we go back to that parable, so you said that he made a deal with certain people, they're gonna get paid that amount. The other people get paid the same amount. But he's not going to the people he made the deal with to start in the morning and taking money from them and giving it to the other people. He's just giving them from his own money. But the way the government works is people pay into it. People pay taxes into it. And then those money go into those systems and welfare and they go to help other people. So I get, yeah, we should be helping each other, but nobody's like, so if I have a family, I have a son, I'm paying for his school, but someone
else's school.
Yeah, someone else has a son. They're not paying for the school, but my taxes are paying for his school. Why should I be paying for both?
So you know what? I have a problem when people say that, right? Because we're already paying taxes, right?
Because of the systems. Like if there wasn't as many systems, we wouldn't be paying as many taxes.
But the taxes already exist. The taxes started right after the Civil War. You know?
No, but if we started paying to go to school, taxes would go up even more.
He's saying if they started to pay to go to school, taxes would be lowered because a part of our money wouldn't be put for those social systems.
No, if we started paying for them to go to school for 4 years, our taxes would go up even more.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It already exists right now. So we're not paying. I'm not telling us to pay more into taxes. I'm saying as the system exists, this is what it is. And it would take a lot of pressure off the system if there were time limits on the system. So I'm rolling back the system, not adding more to the system. The way that
that's the corruption.
That's not how government works. It's raise taxes, raise taxes, raise taxes. You notice every year there's a bill in California that's raising taxes for education, and California's education is 37th ranked in the U.S. You're like, where are my freaking tax dollars going? Every year taxes get increased in California, and we're still the 37th ranked state in California education. That doesn't sound like my tax money is going to education. It sounds like it's being wasted. So also another thing is Gavin Newsom's a multimillionaire. Nancy Pelosi's a multimillionaire. The money's, we can tax the crap out of us. The money's not going where it needs to go. So why am I going to pay more taxes for people to go to college if I know it's not going to go there?
Perfect.
You know what I mean?
I like that. Because now this is where government makes it divisive, because we're talking about the individual when it's not the individual. If we're saying that taxes aren't even going to that individual, then why are we even talking about that individual? Right? Why are we talking about?
So why are we paying taxes if it's not getting to the individual?
Exactly. So why are we talking about the individual? The bigger problem, that is
we're talking about the system. We're not talking.
No, we are 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at 3 talking heads, and we're all talking about why are we paying to this? Why is it fair for this person to pay for someone who had a bad?
Yeah, but it goes back to the system, not the person. I don't have anything against the person. I have something against the system that's unfair.
Okay, I apologize if I'm saying you have something against the system, because it sounds like you have something against the person. That's what it sounds like, right?
No, because I'm not the person. It's kind of like war, right? It's like we're supporting these wars that we didn't vote on, we didn't agree to go to, but our tax money is going towards war. So I'm not okay with my tax money going to Ukraine. I'm not okay with my tax money going to Israel. I'm not okay with it going to these other places because I know it's not going there. That's the main thing. All it's doing is stuffing the politicians' pockets in these other countries and is stuffing politicians' pockets here in California. So you're going to make me pay more taxes For what? To stuff your pockets? It's not really going to, you know what I mean? With the amount of taxes each American pays, everyone could probably go to school for free. And it's not. You know what they would do to get people go to school for free? Increase taxes even more.
Let me ask you.
So it's not, it's a corruption issue.
Let me ask you a question then, guys. If the money was allocated correctly, would you have a problem with that? Because if you're saying the government is the problem and it's not, you don't have a problem with the individual, that if they didn't raise their taxes and as it's set up right now and the big people in politics and in the government aren't taking a kickback and they're not getting extra money and the money is actually going to the systems it's meant to go to, would you have a problem with that?
Well, let's put it this way. Gavin Newsom paid a $15 billion initiative to clean up homelessness. When he made the initiative, there's 75,000. 10 years later, there's 175,000 homeless. So we know it's not working. You know what I mean? So it's great on a perfect,
right? Like
in a perfect, I know, but what I'm telling you, in a perfect utopian society, okay, whatever, cool. But I know we don't live in a perfect utopian society. Our first topic was how the government's corrupt, right? And how the power corrupts. So in a perfect society, yes, whatever, give people college, but I know that's not where my money's going. And I still go back to the biblical perspective of Jesus never criticized Rome for not taking care of its people. He criticized his people for not taking care of his people. God never criticized other countries for not taking care of their people. God criticized his country for not taking care of their own people. It's not about the government structure. It's about the people and their hearts and why aren't they helping people? So, you know, if you're so passionate about this, Will, let's get on Post Speed Chronicles. Let's start offering scholarship grants to poor families. I'm down for that.
Money, I would do it. You know,
That's what I'm saying. So let's start that. We start that small. We start that local. That's a bigger impact. And we know where the money's going. And I know it's not going to go to my pocket or your pocket because I know we're both men of high character and it's not going to Roy's pocket. So I would say let's do that. I mean, I trust the money, what we would do with it, more than I would trust what the government would do with it.
I agree.
And going off of that point, think about this. Like, so we trust people working with the money better than the government. So if we didn't have the government taxing us and taking, 60% of our paycheck,
Ridiculous.
we would have that money in our paycheck to be able to help those people around us. And we would know that it is in fact helping the people around us, you know? So depending on the government, it goes back to depending on the government is just wrong. It's lazy and you should not be doing it.
And guess what, guys?
The government is corrupt.
I am against taxes. I'm against taxes. I'm looking.
But that's part of the government, right?
And I'm against taxes. I am not for it.
That's part of the government, right? Is taxes.
I know. That's why I'm trying to look into getting, become LLC or S Corp or whatever I need to do so that now I can take that money out. There's a certain amount of money that everyone can donate to nonprofit organization, right? And it's a tax write-off. So I'm like, well, if I do long form, for those of you guys watching, file long form and then actually donate these monies to where you need to be, to where it needs to be donated, then you lower your taxes, your income.
So many people don't like the church.
Huh?
Why do you think so many people don't like the church?
Why?
I mean, I'm a man of God and I love the church, but you don't have to pay taxes if you're a church.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit.
But they have to depend on the system that's giving back to society. So your only hope is that's for the benefit of churches to give to a church because you know they're going to do good for their community, for society. But that's why so many people run away from God is because they get frustrated because the system, it's just like you don't know the system. You learn the system as an S Corp, but we don't get taught that as a kid because they don't want you to figure that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, so everything. There's no excuse. It's all on YouTube. People hit me up all the time and I tell them about LLC and how to, I'm not going to say evade taxes, but how to legally pay less taxes.
Well, the elites that you're talking about do it, and it's not illegal. So it's like, yeah, they can do it.
If you read the U.S. tax code book, the California tax code book, it's literally the book just tells you how to not pay taxes. And so if you raise taxes, one more thing too, for hating taxes, if you raise taxes, only the poor are getting taxed. People say tax the rich don't pay taxes. And then me as an entrepreneur, you raise the taxes on my business, guess what? I'm raising the gym membership price and now it's going back to the poor and they're paying the taxes. So you raise taxes on food. Guess what? The food prices go up and the poor that are buying the food are always going to get taxed. So raising taxes is a dumb concept of like, oh, tax the rich. Like the rich won't get taxed, so that's just, they know the tax code. They know how to get around it. It's not even illegal. They just know how to use it in their best interest.
Don't tell that to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, with his multiple houses.
I think too, the last thing I'll say to Will is I think that no matter what, we morally we want the best for everybody, especially all of us in this group, but we have to speak just logically and just the truth that it's not always going to happen, which is unfortunate. That's what I was saying. Like, we don't have anything against the person. We want everybody to succeed, especially us in our faith and they're living with like God with us. We want everybody to succeed, but we also have to be realists and realize that that's not always, not everyone's going to have that happen for them. But like you guys were talking about, what Stephen was talking about, and you were talking about, what can we do in order to help people from our level? We're not going to maybe be able to reach it like the government's going to reach it, but maybe we can start a movement or plant the little mustard seed that could benefit and help change the trajectory of the future just a little bit. Because our goal, we're not going to fix the world.
I say we're reaching it better than the government does. We went to Africa.
That's what I'm saying.
We've all been to Africa. We've all been to Mexico. We've all worked around in our communities. Like, we're doing, in my opinion, we're doing more for people around us and people we care about than the government ever has.
And the fact that it's on our heart and the fact that we're thinking about it, talking about it, trying to make a change, that's more than what anybody is doing too.
And we haven't taken a
I was
dive.
about to say, and it's coming out of our own pockets. Like,
Yeah, I mean, let's think about that. You know, that orphanage we built in Africa, the land we've acquired from Mama Flo, the walls, the bathrooms. That's more than the whole Ugandan government will ever do for their people, you know? The houses, multiple houses we've built down in Mexico. Mexico's not building houses for their citizens. The stuff we're going to do in the Philippines, the stuff that we're going to do feeding our community in the fall. It's like, those are things we can do. And if more people did more stuff like we are doing, then this wouldn't even be a hot topic that we're discussing today. And so I think, you know, I love that you guys are all my friends. You guys are all part of the group because you guys all have the same vision and the same heart. It's like, you know, one thing I'm really bad at is I love to complain at what everyone else doesn't do because it just frustrates me because, you know, I'm like, there's such a need out there and God said, right, the harvest is plenty, that Jesus said the harvest is plenty, the laborers are few. There's not enough laborers out there to do the work that needs to be done, but there's so much that needs to be done. And, you know, as long as we keep doing it, starts with us four, we spread it to our families, we spread it to our friends, and they keep spreading it, then we're going to cause something to happen with us. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing. And, you know, the government will always let us down. That's what God always told us. He said, you don't want a king. And I said, we want a king. You don't want a king. We want a king. He said, the king's going to be corrupt. They're going to enslave you. They're going to steal from you. They're going to overtax you, right? And what happens? They got a king, and that's been happening ever since. We try to put our faith in the government. We try to put our faith in man. And we're over here having a frustrated roundtable discussion about how corrupt man and the government is. So we just got to take it into our own hands. And, you know, in a perfect society, yeah, we'd love to help everyone. But obviously, until we get to heaven, we're never going to be in a perfect society.
amen.
So what are you guys going to do in the Philippines?
So in the Philippines, we are going to be helping in orphanages. We're going to be going into prisons, and then we're going to be going into cancer clinics and paying for people's like chemotherapy treatments and stuff like that. So it'll be cool.
That's powerful.
What are you on?
Shout out to the gym.
Yeah, October 26th through like the 10th or something like that, or like the 5th. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm excited to go do it.
Well, if you guys are excited about this conversation and any conversation we may have in the future, then make sure you hit us up at Post P Chronicles on YouTube, Post P Chronicles on Instagram. You can go to Crookie Muster on Instagram, Second Chance Will Instagram. Just hit us up. All right. Roy, thank you. Post P, Roundtable.
Hey, what up, say? Yeah.